For my interviews, I asked students in my classes the first week back at school simple questions like, how has online been for you? How do you feel about being back at school? What's made you happy? And later that week, I organized 2 online Zoom meetings with juniors, seniors, and sophomores to have a larger discussion and conversation about the last year.
Didn't really like online, to be perfectly honest.
At first, it was the hardest. This semester has been way easier for me than it was last year.
At the beginning of like when we went online, I thought it was going to be awesome because I could just get all my work done like right away and then just be done for the whole year. But I just didn't do anything until like it was actually due. And even then, it's just like getting motivated is so hard.
It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible.
Online school was alright. I don't think I learned as much as I would want to.
Not being able to like engage with my teachers and like other students.
I haven't liked it at all. Everything is homework. There's nothing that's like, oh, schoolwork and then homework. It's all just homework.
It's been difficult
Yeah.
because social interaction is very important for all humans, but I mean, I've lived through it.
Being online has brought different kinds of challenges for every student. Many struggled with motivation, accountability, and Zoom fatigue. But many found the lack of structure liberating. As students, we faced new mental health issues, disorganized classes, internet issues, many quiet hours, and a total loss of any social interaction. What did you miss most about in-person learning?
Missed the like random people.
The fact that I could just do it later, like at school, I had like an hour in class and it's like you got to get your work done. But at home, like I could just do this tomorrow or like tonight, right before it's due.
I miss just seeing like people in general without having to plan it.
All the assignments, it would take me like a long time to get them done because I would just get distracted and like go on my phone.
Or like you think you can multitask and like do class and like make breakfast or something?
Yeah, now we're in person and like I get the assignments done in class in like 15 minutes.
But I think the most things I missed most, like I noticed the first week we were at home, I didn't realize how much I learned from my peers until I didn't have them. And I had no idea how many questions I was asking until I wasn't asking them. And I really missed just like raising my hand because I always have a question.
I think that the change of scenery from like
Yeah.
or like bedroom or like it just in your house, I feel like that's typically a space that's like really a work environment, or at least for me it wasn't.
The issue that not many people anticipated about working and studying from home is the lack of separation. Your home becomes your school and your school becomes your home. This provided a unique challenge and a unique distraction. Do you work in your room or do you have a space in the house that you can work?
Last year, because everything was so hectic, my mom's a teacher as well. And so she was doing Zoom calls in our kitchen. And like the thing about that is they're exceptionally loud. She's a first grade teacher. I don't know if this happens with anyone else. Do your parents just like yell at their computer all the time?
Yes.
Made it really hard. But then this year she started working at school. And so then I was able to like use the like our like dining room area as my workspace because I don't have a desk in my room. Having some separation made it easier because then it made it feel more like an event. I have my own mental health issues. I like suffer from like panic attacks and like some pretty bad anxiety as well as some like OCD stuff. Like it's not great. But so being home is like really difficult because I want everything to be a certain way. But that once I sort of got into that like headspace of like, okay, when I'm here, I'm working.
Most of everything in my room, like I do any sewing, I do it in my room. If I'm recording, I do it in my room. And I just have a harder time when I'm like around other people doing schoolwork. Living room, I have a hard time focusing on the thing I'm supposed to be doing because there's so much happening around me. So I just do it in my room. I can close the door and don't hear anybody else.
Since quarantine, my family has started eating dinner at the couch because for some reason the table, like I don't like sitting at the kitchen table when I'm not doing work.
So I definitely noticed that at home it felt like I couldn't accomplish as much, and then like just recently when we have returned to school, I definitely noticed this shift. It just ties back into like having that environment is really important.
I feel incredibly grateful to have had the space in my home to make the dining room table my workspace. Since I've established this space last fall, I found myself feeling much more focused, calm, and efficient about my schoolwork. But despite having this issue figured out, there are still many more. Internet connectivity was a problem for my family and many other families, and even the school district this whole year. There were days where I couldn't log into class, where my learning modules wouldn't load, or days where the entire school system crashed altogether. This made it extremely challenging for classes to keep moving forward. Did you struggle with any internet issues? At least for our family, we've had some trouble with the Wi-Fi and being able to connect to school. Like, there have been days where no matter how many times I try, I get kicked out of class, and it always seems to be when I'm in a breakout room. And so, that's like the one time that you get to have this interaction with other kids instead of just being another box on the screen or whatever, and then I get kicked out.
Or I have to try and submit like 6 times, and sometimes it just doesn't work. Yeah, and then it's like you did everything. It's just like you literally can't turn it in.
What about the workload? Do you think that online learning was a type of learning that worked for you?
I have ADHD, so it's kind of problematic, but also I'm a little bit depressed. So like it's a fun combination of bad. And so when there's like so many assignments at once, I tend to get overwhelmed very easily, and then I just don't do them because there's no one to tell me like what I'm doing wrong at my house.
It's weird being someone who likes it. Like Ella, I understand that like it just does not work for you at all, and like I completely understand that, but it's weird because I got the highest grades that I've ever gotten in school before on my report card this year. My lowest grade was a 97. Like it's like it worked wonderfully for me. It's not your fault. It's nothing about your intelligence. It's a matter of how you learn, and like I feel very lucky the fact that it like ended up working for me, you know what I mean?
Kind of same as Hayden. Like at first I kind of didn't enjoy online school like last year, but I think I just went into it this year and just kind of like caught on. And
I think the first couple months of this year were really challenging for me too. But then come December, I think is when it really just kind of clicked for me. Like, I had my routine figured out.
I obviously just our brains are different, like completely opposite.
like some of my smartest friends were just like struggling so much in online school, and like I know it's not because they're like not smart, and like I know they're like entirely capable of succeeding.
Like I imagine that it was so much worse for like the majority of the student body, but like I know that there was a handful of people who like myself who like it, I don't know, it just like worked for my brain. So yeah, it really kind of comes down to how you learn.
As a senior with a younger sister who's a sophomore, I witnessed how challenging it was to have your freshman year cut short. Transition as big as the one from middle to high school, only worsened by the pandemic. I was curious how this had affected other sophomores then and how it is still affecting them now. As a freshman, I can only imagine that you guys didn't necessarily have that connection or with your teachers or other students. Do you think that impacted the way that you experienced online learning?
Definitely a lot, because I don't know, I didn't know any of my teachers really well.
Yeah, I think it definitely did. Like, especially starting sophomore year, I like didn't know any of my teachers.
Yeah, I agree, but I also feel like grateful that I feel like at least I had an introduction to the way that high school worked, but then like not knowing teachers and not even knowing that many students in classes this year was definitely hard because you just weren't able to like converse with them.
Yeah, a lot of the Zoom classes were like dead silent, but no one talked because you didn't know anybody. Everyone was like,
lack of participation from like everyone. Like I know that I was a part of this was like it made learning like it didn't make learning fun, and it didn't really make learning as possible as being in the classroom, and it felt like no one really wanted to be there. So
right,
yeah, like you don't want to be the only one who has their camera on in the breakout room and is talking, because that's super awkward.
How did being out of school and not being able to visit and just everything going on in general affect your college decision or your college application experience?
It's weird not being able to visit schools. Like that's definitely been weird. it's honestly made it easier because school is like pretty chill and I could just like work on my college apps whenever I needed.
And I think it really changed the way I interacted with schools. Like, I went to so many virtual college like tours and stuff in the spring because I had nothing better to do. And I think that definitely influenced the way that a couple schools that I applied to, and schools I was like, never heard of this one, let's go to it. And they gave the most engaging presentations, and they were all so excited to talk about it. And like, I don't know, I thought that was an interesting part of the college experience application experience that people haven't had before. So
I mean, I committed to go to a school that is across the country that I've never been to. I'm just gonna kind of get there and hope that it's good. And like, I've done as much research as I can. But like, it is kind of weird being like, yeah, I'm gonna go live in this place for 4 years potentially.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm gonna like it, but hopefully I do. I'm in the same boat. I'm moving to a huge city that's like known for being like super kind of dumpstery and a little bit Republican, and like, I'm so excited.
Online learning was a real challenge for every student, but after months of getting things figured out, the school district finally announced a return to hybrid learning. This announcement was met with both apprehension, fear, and excitement.
How do you feel about coming back to school?
It's terrifying